Welcome to the
Thank you for
Primo's
listening.
Musings podcast.
Primo will be back soon.
Good evening again, Amit. We are
Hey,
back,
Sridhar.
and we're going to do a preview of the India-New Zealand match. That will be the Clash of the Titans in Dubai. Two cricketing powerhouses: India winning against Australia, and then New Zealand defeating South Africa today. I did like a little recap yesterday, how India beat Australia. So before we get into the finals preview, wanted to hear your thoughts on India versus Australia, and that was also being Steve Smith's final
Mm-hmm.
game as a one day, and I think he's going to retire.
Yeah, and we are lucky to see, he had a good innings, so
He had a good innings,
it's
yes.
good that he
So
went
just
out.
wanted to give your thing.
Right.
Both the
Yeah.
teams entering the final, right? I
Yep.
mean, they've
Sure.
done great. So wanted to hear your thoughts on the India and Australia semifinal, and then we'll quickly jump into the preview of the final.
Yeah. I think obviously India did well. They were very measured in their chase and in control, but I was actually very impressed with Australia. I mean, with such a short-handed bowling attack. I mean, Zampa is kind of the only known commodity, honestly. I mean, Maxwell is getting like 6, 7 overs, right? Like not like just couple of overs, right? He's a big part of the rotation too. And, I won't call Maxwell as a bowler per se, right? He's a part-time bowler. Given all of that, I think they put up a decent score and they made India earn every bit of it. I mean, literally, India had, at any stage, if India had lost one more wicket than they did, they probably still would have won, but it could have gotten very interesting. So I actually think Australia kept it closer than what they should have because there was a difference in the bowling department. I think batting both sides are pretty good. So that's where it was. I mean, I obviously it was middle of the night my time, so I didn't watch the Australian batting. I watched all of the Indian batting. So I wonder though, if you look at all of our spinners, right, like especially Kuldeep and all that. I mean, they all went above pretty much above five and over.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, maybe. I mean, I thought the track was supposed to favor the spinners. Maybe not in the morning. I don't know what it is, but there's a chance they underwhelmed a little bit. I know Varun got the key breakthrough and, like got Travis Head out and all those things. But I just wonder where maybe the spinners did get hammered a bit, especially when Carey and Smith were
Mhm.
batting, right? So I wonder if they underperformed a little bit also, right? I mean, on paper, this should not have been a very close game because I think there was a talent gap there. Um,
Hmm.
so I don't know if Australia overachieved or Indian bowlers underachieved. I don't find any fault with the Indian batting. I think they batted really well. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad India won in the end. I mean, the difference was obvious in the end. I mean, at the end of the day, it looked like a comfortable victory, right? Like 5 wickets to spare, and then what, 11 balls to spare, which is a decently comfortable victory. But it was a good game to watch. That's the best part about it. Very good
Well,
game.
I think you know what you made some point. I think the talent gap was there. We did talk about that even during the preview. But one thing is that we know the clutch gene. But this game was by no stretch of imagination, to your point. 1, 2 wickets could have swung the way. Even towards the end, it was a very close game. And if Hardik Pandya did not have that blistering attack, launching 3 sixers, that would have put some pressure on. But
Hmm.
yesterday, Australia at one point was 198 for four, and I thought they would easily get to 300. I think they still had 10 overs, and just like if
Or
what
at least
happened,
280, yeah. At least
yes,
280.
at least
India did quite well. I mean,
280,
I think
yeah.
India gave up just like 65, 70 runs in the last 13 overs, something like that. 68 runs or something like that. So,
And
which
the
is
wickets
pretty
were
good.
falling too, right? The wickets were falling on a regular clip, and
Right.
that could really put some pressure on. And Alex Terry's run out by Shreyas Iyer was the turning point in my mind, because if Carey had stayed,
Right. I
that
agree.
would have easily
That was a
resulted in another.
phenomenal run out. Yeah, that was
Oh
just
yeah,
amazing. He is
yeah.
I mean, I know there's a lot of competition. I think him, Jadeja, and Akshar Patel. Probably. But I think maybe next to Jadeja, I think Shreyas Iyer is He's so good in the field with catches, run outs, defending the runs. He's just amazing. And, he's in great touch with the bat too. It's really, I'm so glad for him.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that was a turning point of the game for Australia because if Carey had stayed, that would have easily amounted to another 15 to 20 runs.
But think of it this way too. Actually, that's one side of it. I agree with you. But like you said, they were 198 for six. I think Maxwell had just gotten out, right? And
Well,
at
it was
that time,
198 for four. I mean, think about that first. And
right?
then,
But then Maxwell got out, and then someone else got out. So they were like 200. And I think watching the highlights, my impression was like, man, like after they were six down and after the tailenders started coming, right? Like the real tailenders. I don't know. I mean, I would have been like, man, if I were an Indian fan watching live at that time, I would have said like, man, we need to like wipe up this tail and give in 30 runs and all that. And I think they held on for 50, 60 runs after that. So I think the biggest achievement for India was like by over 40 or something, already six wickets are down, something like that. Right. So that really helped slow them down. Because I think 280 would have been a tough target.
yeah, I think so too, because I think Hardik Pandya really launched it. But I think yesterday I did see something that, just reading the lips of what KL Rahul was telling Kohli, because I think the plan was, and I think one thing that you noticed in India's chase yesterday was how each of the players, when they got to the crease, I think the instructions were very clear. One was going to hit, the other one was going to be like an anchor roll. So when KL Rahul and Kohli were having the partnership, KL Rahul was the one hitting. He
After that,
actually had a very good
especially
run
after
rate.
that drinks break. Yeah. Yes.
Yes, and then I think when Kohli got out, I think you kind of saw what he muttered in Hindi about, well, I'm hitting, right? Why are you hitting? So
Right.
something like that.
Right.
Because Kohli went for a shot that
Right.
he never should have gone. And then, very interestingly, when KL Rahul was joined by Hardik Pandya, you saw the reversal where Hardik Pandya went out for the shots, but KL Rahul became
Yeah,
the
but
anchor.
that was out of desperation. I mean, he was
True.
3 of 11 balls or something ridiculous. I remember there was this one over where he had like five dot balls, and
Yes.
they already needed like 6, 7 runs and over kind of thing. So I think he had to. I mean, he had to hit at that point because he had
Right.
too many dot balls. But yeah, no, it was a good game overall.
Yep. So India finally eliminates Australia on the way to the final.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that I did allude to in our recap that I would rather face I'd rather face Australia in the semifinals and the finals. But I'm so
Mm-hmm.
glad we eliminated Australia in the quarterfinals in the World Cup 2011, and this happened.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get to the high stakes encounter we have between India and New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that, just like I was talking about how New Zealand has eliminated South Africa, New Zealand, as we all know, in 2019 World Cup, after when India and Rohit Sharma was going really great, I think Rohit Sharma had 5 centuries. They eliminated India in the 2019 World Cup, and then obviously we do know that this is a different format of the game, but they did eliminate us in the World Cup 2021 final. And in the current Champions Trophy, did India did beat New Zealand by 44 runs. Varun Chakravarti was excellent, 5 for 42. But this represents for India a unique opportunity, and I would think this is something I did want to talk about before we went to the preview. Rohit Sharma has now taken, as a captain, India to four finals:
Mm-hmm.
the 2023 World Cup, World Test Championship, the T20 World Cup last year, and then Champions Trophy. So he seeks to also join MS Dhoni to win multiple ICC trophies.
Mm-hmm.
And then Satin and Michael Satner, who's now the captain for New Zealand, they are eyeing their first Champions Trophy since 2000. And, you know, these are the perennial nice guys, like we always talk about. So let's get to the preview.
Yep.
The fact that New Zealand has already played in Dubai, it's not a new pitch for them. They've already played once in Dubai. And your thoughts on, let's start with, if Who wins the toss? I think Rohit has actually had a very poor string of losing tosses, I
He's due
think,
to one. He's due to win one for a while now.
for a while, right? So your thoughts on who if decide whether India New Zealand wins the toss, what would they do? What do you think would be the par score on that Dubai pitch?
Mhm.
And let's talk about some of the key impact players.
Yep. I think the tendency has been that the spinners come more into play in the second innings. That's been the tendency, I would say, based on the limited number of matches that played. I have a feeling the side who wins the toss will want to bat first. And there is always that psychological thing, right? Like you want to put up a
Hmm.
big score, and the chase itself in a big moment adds its own pressure. I would say side batting first. If they get like 280, they would feel pretty good about it. 275, 280. And I think India walking in has a very distinct psychological advantage because they just beat them. It wasn't even a close game. They beat them very easily just a few days ago. It'll be a week before the final will be played. New Zealand didn't handle the spin that well that day, right?
Mm.
Especially the middle order, the way they got out to playing either shots or whatever to the spin. So they kind of
Mm.
have more to prove in a way, but it's a one-off game. Anything can happen. But yeah, I think whoever is going to win the toss will probably want to bat first. Would be my guess.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be critical. And the first 6 overs is going to be very critical. And India bats, you know what the approach is going to be. That's one reason why Rohit Sharma.
But Sridhar, I was thinking about that. Sorry to interrupt you, but I was actually going to make that point as I was watching this game against Australia, right? And you could see like Rohit Sharma was getting very itchy, right? Like he wanted to take advantage of this field being spread out, which logically makes a lot of sense. But his timing wasn't that great, right? Like, in fact, didn't he have like, yeah, he had two drop catches, and it was
Oh,
a
yes.
very, you know, so it made me think like, I mean, why? If you notice when Kohli and Shreyas Iyer were playing, right? They were able to still bat in the middle overs at about 4.5 to 5 an over. So if you notice throughout the chase, our run rate stayed at like 5 per over. Like after 20 overs, we were close to 100. After
Hmm.
25,
Right.
30 overs, we were exactly at 150. After 40 overs, we were exactly at 200. So there were singles to be had. I mean, there were some overs where we gave up only 3 runs, but then there would be boundaries. So if I were Rohit Sharma, I would not put that much pressure on myself on like absolutely hammering the first 10 overs and things like that. Imagine even if after 20 overs they're like 100 for one, right? If they're batting at 5 per over instead of 6 per over, or like 90 for one. But if they have that
Hmm.
strong base, I think there's always that capability to accelerate after that. So there's a chance he might rethink his game. I'm not saying he's going to play slow or anything like that, but maybe not take as many chances because I would like to see when he goes long, man, the opposition is vanquished, man. I mean, the opposition doesn't have a chance. If he gets close to 100, it's just there's no way that 100 is going to be you know anywhere more than 85, 90 balls. We know that he can get pretty
Right.
destructive. He just needs to hang in there, be a little bit more patient. So I think that was the encouraging part about the Indian chase, where even in the middle overs they batted, kept the scoreboard ticking at 4-5. If they hadn't done that, if they had played like kind of how they played against New Zealand, where they went, I thought, a little bit slower in the middle overs, I mean, the run rate would have climbed to 6, 7. It never went above 6, I think, right? Like hardly went above
Right.
6. So I think that's a rethink that they can do, where maybe they keep more wickets and they have more confidence and they can do kind of what New Zealand did today against South Africa. Obviously, nobody's getting 363 on that pitches. It will be a much more scaled down version, but still. So just food for thought. That's an alternative strategy for them.
I mean, the one thing that Dubai, and I completely agree with you about the toss. Any team that's going to win the toss is going to bat.
Hmm.
Because the scores, if you look at it, I don't think any team has reached 300 in Dubai. I'm pretty sure. So that would be the case. And I like the way you talked about scoring earlier in the power play versus building the innings, just losing just maybe one wicket, 100 for one or 90 for one, and then building the innings from there. Because 30 overs,
Right.
I think you have the batting depth
Right.
to
Yeah.
do that.
You can have
I think
a
one
hitter
thing
coming
that
at
would
eight.
concern me would be that the fact that the way Satner's bowling, or even how Bracewell was bowling against, I think Bracewell was not that effective against India, but again, remember,
He was
this
economical.
is a kind of bowler. You're seeing this second time, you're seeing this pitch.
Hmm.
I think you know how to hit your spots. That would be very crucial for that. And I think India will be going with four spinners. I don't believe, unfortunately, Harshit Rana or Arshdeep is not going to get a chance to play. I think once the Indian management saw how these
Yeah.
pitches were behaving, they had to go to.
Yeah, I thought that if India would have played South Africa, I thought that there was a chance that they bring back one of the seamers because the South Africans are pretty good against the spin and they can hit, man. So imagine like Klaasen, he can get out to a spinner, but he can really take them apart, right? Like he can take anyone apart. But I just feel like they're very good players. They're better players of spin. So, but back to New Zealand, yeah, I mean, especially if just 7 days ago you've beaten them with fairly easily, why would you change, right? You make the other guys change. That should be the attitude.
Right.
The one thing we were talking about, like I myself said that, and you supported that, which is like win the toss and bat. Now there was a little bit of seam and things like that early in the innings, right? In fact, India lost 3 early wickets in that first match, and it was pretty slow going, right? Because it was a recovery thing and all that. I think in 25 overs, I think we probably had 100 runs. So we're like at 4 per over or something like that. Like really,
Mhm.
right? So my point is maybe there is some swing and seam and all those things for side bowling first. So maybe it's not that obvious of a choice.
Right. I think that's going to be the key, I think. But, 260, 270 would be a very good par score for either team chasing on this pitch.
Hmm.
That's going to be
I
the
agree.
key.
I agree. I think anything below 255, 260 seems like inadequate. And I would say once you start getting into the 280 territory, that's like, wow, you feel pretty good.
That would be New Zealand's goal because I think, but you know what? You could easily see, um, Rohit bringing spin very early on if he sees the first three or
Hmm.
four overs not go his way. I can see the spin being introduced very quickly.
Hmm.
And India has to be very sharp on the field. I mean, one thing is that, Rahul is good. He's been okay. I mean, Punt is not even seeing the field. He's been okay on the field, but India cannot. And you know one thing, even when India played against New Zealand in the Group A match, New Zealand's fielding at least top
Oh, yeah.
easily 20,
That's like a
30.
10, 15, 15, 20 run advantage for them, for sure.
Right,
Yeah. No.
right. So that's something
I don't
that,
think India is changing sides. I would say if they bring in an Arshdeep, which I don't think they're going to do. You know who's probably likely to go? I think it's going to be Kuldeep.
you know what, you make a very interesting
He
point
went
there.
wicketless this last game. Even against New Zealand, I don't think he was like kind of the lead dog, right? Like Aksar bowled very tight,
No,
Jadeja bowled
I
good,
think
and then
no.
Varun
Against
got all the
Australia, I
wickets.
think he was wicketless. You're right.
Right.
Against Australia, he was wicketless.
He got like
Against
one or
New
two, one
Zealand, let
maybe.
me quickly.
I think he got one maybe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, no, he got 2 wickets, but two for 56. But I think when
Right.
you look at
He's
all the
been
other bowlers,
he's been getting hammered a bit.
yes, yes. When you look at Akshar Patel against Akshar Patel only was like 1 for 30. So there's Akshar Patel also brings an
Right.
additional dimension with the field and with the bat.
Oh,
So to
absolutely.
your
Oh, yeah,
point
yeah. That's
about
a no
Kuldeep,
brainer choice between the two. And the thing is, I don't think these are like turning tracks. Like, it's not like this is like a rank turner, like in Sri Lanka or something like that, right? But the ball stopping, it's two paced and all that. I think that's why, like, Aksar Patel or Jadeja, who tend to bowl a little bit fast and they have that natural variation, I think that can do the trick, right? So, if it
yeah,
were a pure turning
even though
track,
they're
then I
left
think
arms,
Kuldeep will turn the ball a lot, the most out of these and all that. So there's a little bit of that, but then again, I mean, Kuldeep has all the experience, and maybe he just had a couple of kind of meh games, and he'll rise to the occasion. I don't think they're going to make a change, but I just thought that was interesting that if they were to make a switch, he probably will be the one to sit.
I didn't really think about it until you mentioned Amit about Kuldeep.
Hmm.
But Arshdeep hasn't played a single match,
Yeah, you don't
right?
bring someone in cold. No,
Right.
I really
But
like him,
Harshit,
but yeah, why change a
Harshit
winning
Rana has
composition?
played.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to
Yes.
change it. There's no reason to, unless there's some injuries or something like that.
I think they stick with the same team. But it's an interesting thought. because he doesn't. But you know what? A spinner like Kuldeep, you cannot keep him away. Maybe one game, 2 games. It's not like he didn't bowl that badly in the first game. He gave 5.6 is not bad. I mean, I think it could be better. I mean, when you see Akshar Patel and Varun actually bowl exceptionally well, 6 wickets among them, and then giving just about 70 runs in 20 overs, which is
Hmm.
that pretty much changes anytime you have that combination, it's going to bode well for India.
Yep.
So we talked about the pitch, we talked about some of the how they approach this game, we talked about the bowling, we talked about the fielding as well. So let's quickly get down to um, uh, who are going to be the key players on both sides, and then we'll get to the prediction.
I I mean, I hate to be boring, but in on wickets like this, it's the accumulators who are the key players. So that's why it was Steve Smith and Kohli in the recent match. It's got to be mainly, I would say, two people there on New Zealand side would be Williamson and Rachin Ravindra, because Rachin is capable of the beginning. I mean, they all are. I mean, William can score a century. I mean, they all are. Daryl Mitchell on his day can do whatever, right? But if you think of like kind of that accumulator who'll stay there, anchor role, keep the scoreboard ticking, score a lot of runs, lay the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Kohli said that in his post game. They've all said that. Rohit Sharma has said that this is the type of pitch where partnerships are needed, right? And it's hard for a new batsman to come in and start batting fluently, right? So that's why staying at the crease is extremely important, and stitching together partnerships. So that it's people like that. I would say for India, one of the two openers has to click. Can't afford. It's been a couple of games now. They haven't had the greatest of starts, and they
Hmm.
need a good start. They need like an 80 for no loss, 70 for no whatever, at least 50 for no loss, kind of a good start, good foundation. Because honestly, Kohli's been doing pretty well. At some point, the law of averages do kick in. Shreyas has been playing
Absolutely.
well every innings. Is I mean, what more can he do? KL Rahul, what more can you ask him to do? Right? No matter where you want him to bat.
Well, the one player
Aksar, he's done
I
everything.
would say is Gill. Gill
Well,
Gill Gill has not. He started well in the
he
Champions
started really
Trophy,
well, right?
really well. But I think even the match against
I mean,
Australia,
it's been only
you know,
4 matches, and he got 100 and
yeah,
a 50, I think, right? And then he has had two
yeah,
failures, right?
yeah.
I mean, Rohit has not done that much, honestly, except one game.
That's why I like what you just said, right? Both the openers have not together clicked at the
Right.
same time, and if both click at the same
Oh,
time,
it's gonna be deadly. Yeah.
yes, that would be really helpful. And then, like you said, right, all the other players, like you all mentioned, everybody has clicked all the way down to Akshar Patel
Yeah.
or KL Rahul, because now KL Rahul
Yeah.
is coming after Akshar Patel. And I think to your point about accumulators on the New Zealand side, you're right. It's Rashid. That will be a very, again, to your point about Will Young. Young was actually playing well.
Hmm.
He has had a two failure, so I can
He's
actually
due.
easily see him, uh, you know, coming out of the slump. And then hopefully Rachin Ravindra has hit 2 centuries back to back.
Hmm.
So hopefully maybe, well, he didn't click against, not back to back, he didn't click against India, but then he had a century before that. So that could be the law of average. But then Daryl Mitchell has not clicked and Latham has not clicked against India. So
No, they've got
this is,
everyone's got enough options. Yeah. I think you asked me about Santner, right? Like it's not a bad strategy if you know one bowler is going to give you trouble and is most likely to take wickets. Play him out a little bit. 10 overs, 35 runs. It's okay, and target the other bowlers, right? Like so. I think they have to play. I mean, they generally bat that way. I think they bat smart, so they have to do that. I think it's okay. You can see that. I mean, I thought Henry took 5 wickets, whatever, right? But at least based on the highlights, and I know sometimes highlights can give a very distorted view of the whole thing, but it didn't seem like unplayable balls, right? Like, I mean, Kohli hit like this huge shot, and there was a phenomenal catch. I don't know if that was off Henry or not. That I don't,
I think it was of Henry, yes.
right? And then he got like 2-3 wickets at the tail at the end. They're trying to hit and all that, right? So my impression when I saw those figures was like, man, like it was like unplayable bowling.
But you could easily see New Zealand. I mean, when you look at what they've done, when you look at their bowling lineup itself, you do have Jameson and Henry. I mean, Henry bowled well today, 2 wickets
Mhm.
today, and Jameson was not that great. I mean, he was.
He bowled really
But
well
you know
against
what?
India, right? Jamieson bowled really
He
well.
bowled really well against
Yeah.
India, and then I mean, and Rourke too is there. But I think Henry is the critical piece, and and I know in the previous years we would be talking about Bolt every time there was Bolt in the side. I would literally shudder because he was capable of just
Right.
getting the opening break.
And remember, Australia dropped 3 catches today. There's a very high
Yeah,
chance these guys are
South
not going to
Africa.
do
Yeah,
that.
you're right.
Kiwis are not going to do
Yep, you're right. Yep,
right.
that cannot happen at all.
And
Yes.
on the flip side, I mean, even India dropped, right? That Shami had 2 cotton bowls. They were not the easiest of chances, but
That was because again, as a natural right-hand bowler,
no, but
ball
also he's
coming, yeah.
I think a younger bowler, and especially like I can imagine anyone on the Australian side or the English, not English, the Kiwi side, they're going to take that
Hmm.
catch. So I think this
Right.
Shami's older, he's not that athletic, right?
Hmm.
Maybe if it's Harshit Rana or someone like that. But I think generally our Indian bowlers have sucked in their cotton bowls. Like even Siraj is really bad at that. I remember in Test match.
Yeah, right. Right. And I do think that, that is true. Like Australia yesterday, you're right, they drop catches. Today you had South Africa dropping catches. So that really helps the batting
Mhm.
side. And I think, stumping chances. A keeper where the batsman is down the pitch, where he has about, you know, easily like, he could have his tea and then make the stumping. And this is where Dhoni was so good at it. Rahul cannot have any uh, mishaps on the keeping department. India definitely needs to have a better plan against Rachin Ravindra. I mean, even the wicket they got of Ravindra when India played, he was trying to guide the ball to third man
It
and then
was a good catch.
put it to Akshar Patel. It was not a great ball.
Right.
Rachin would be looking forward to playing against India, not making the same mistake again, um, and that's something
Yeah,
to
but
see. So
I think in
let's
summary
let's
though,
come
right?
down to prediction time.
Yeah, I mean, I do
Yeah.
expect it's a very dangerous thing to say, but I do expect India to win this match just because I do think they're a slightly more balanced side. Um, though New Zealand comes pretty darn close, and I'm basing it also on the fact that the last match was not particularly close. Now, I know anything can change. Hoping and expecting India to win, but let me put it this way: if it's an upset, it's not going to be a very shocking upset either.
Right, right. And I think based on how my predictions have gone so far, except for the fact that I picked Pakistan to go to the semifinal,
Mm-hmm.
that was one of my prediction that went wrong. They didn't even make the semifinal. They finished last in the group
Mm-hmm.
behind Bangladesh. I think based on what we have seen so far, based on what happened in the previous match, India has the advantage to lift this trophy. I think they are on a mission. But as you said, if New Zealand wins, they have to play really exceptional in all departments.
Mm-hmm.
And then India making a series of mistakes, just like South Africa did today. But I think Indian team right now, they are playing with a plan, how they are rotating the strike, who's coming up and playing. The bowling has been effective. I think they've taken 22 wickets among the spinners from what I saw on the same pitches, and I believe India will win. So that's my prediction. I'm going on
But we
that.
have seen, unfortunately, things go the other way, right? In these key things against the Kiwis, right, where Henry especially always gives trouble. Takes the Henry and Bolt, and suddenly India puts up a very subpar score, and then methodically Williamson and others chase it. So we've seen that movie before. So yeah,
Hmm.
I would never rule anything out. I'll say this: I think India should not change anything, right? Like their mindset and all of that. I think they've got a decent formula. I mean, obviously they should make in-game adjustments, but otherwise, I think the onus is a little bit more on New Zealand to change something about their approach. So,
I agree.
which can be a positive for them or which can be negative for them. I don't know which one's going to bear out. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yep, I agree with that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think this pretty much brings the curtains down for India after this match, and then we quickly switch to IPL, and
When does
then
IPL start? Right
wait.
away? Does it start right away?
I think March. I believe it's like sometime middle March. I
Okay.
think maybe late March. I think the first match is March 22nd.
Okay.
Yes,
So kind of right away.
and
Yeah.
then
Maybe like a
yeah, you're right. I
2 week
I
gap.
think that's where we are. And then at least for that reason, I would say let Rachin Ravindra shine for Chennai Super Kings, not against India.
That's true.
So when I see him batting, he's a joy to watch. And
He's
Kane
awesome. Yeah.
Williamson is like you said, like
Yep.
like
Yep.
Kohli and Steve Smith. That's the one that he's like one of
I
those
mean,
people that they
obviously, I want
accumulate
India
runs.
to win, but like if India loses, these are good guys to lose to. That's how I feel. They so deserve it. They're very talented. They're very hardworking. They're very nice. It's just I think they represent the sport really well. I really do. I think they're the most sporting side. I mean, I wouldn't even say India is anywhere close to that. Like in that sense, like they're very
I agree with that.
sporting.
Yes, I
No
think they have been the
antics,
good guys.
no antics, no crap. Just really down to earth. Like I really admire that about them.
Absolutely, I think they are, and they've been a model side, right?
And they've been consistently in the
Throughout.
semifinals and onwards, right? Over the last, I don't know,
Great.
last decade maybe, or at least last 5 6 years, like they've consistently done well. So
Yeah, and I think part of that was having Trent Bolt in the side,
mhm. Saudi,
and that really helped them establish, like, any time Trent Bolt played in any side in any major tournament, he was always going to get a breakthrough, and that really
right,
put like a lot of
right.
advantage for them. And I think there one thing that I see about New Zealand is that the way they've built the sides over these years. When you had Kane Williamson was the captain, all these steady guys, they would come in, do their jobs, and go. But right now, they have, when you look at their batting depth is pretty impressive all the way till seven. And like you said, Henry is a game changing bowler like Bolt. And then Jameson, even though hasn't bowled well recently, you never know. I mean, if there is no dew on the pitch, something that I
Hmm.
didn't see earlier. But again, it could be that, you know, again, they've had like one or two bad games. So to your point, I'm a big fan of the New Zealand cricket side, and again, I was a big fan of the South African cricket side too. They also are very. They're second to New Zealand. I think they're probably the best bunch of good guys too. So I feel bad for South Africa, um, especially after their loss in the T20 final, and especially after how they were eliminated today. I mean, today was not even close. I mean, but but again, you have to call it the way it is. They missed on many chances, and they could not put the game away when they needed to. And that's the story
Hmm.
of South
Yeah,
African
it'll be a
cricket
good
this
game
year.
for sure. It'll be a very good game to
Yep,
watch.
for sure. So looking forward to the game, and I think we have some time to relax, read more about it. Let's see what India does if they make any changes, or what New Zealand does if they make any changes. Status of Matt Henry, because he did bowl, but a lot of these things
Hmm.
will be still up in the air, and whether they will be making a change
That'll be big, by the way. If he misses the game, that'll be pretty big because he's been the India killer for a while now. But I
for
don't
a
think
long
he
time.
will.
Yes.
I mean, if he came back into the same match, bowled two more, and now he's got like 3 4 days of rest, I don't anticipate
Yep.
anything. Yeah.
Absolutely. So thank you, Amit.
Alrighty.
This was fun, and I think this will be the end of cricket for us for a while, because IPL is just another
Yep.
entertainment.
Agree.
But we will be back to football for those listening, because everything is coming down the wire. We're eagerly waiting on a lot of the
Yep. Free agency starts next week.
free agency starts next week, and then we'll get to the draft and things like that. So for all the listeners out there, cricket comes to a wrap, and then we will do a post game
Yeah, we should.
after the
We
India
should.
India New Zealand. So thanks again, Amit,
Alrighty. Take
and
care.
good night, everybody. Thank you.